U.S. citizens carrying their passports around because they're not white and they're worried. This is not something isolated to one city or one group of people, but it's something that affects all of us. We're having town halls in every county across the state. And Susan Collins, my opponent, has not had a town hall in 25 years.
I want to keep cycling through kind of the more national topics now. I'm sure I'm sure you've heard with Trump and ICE and how they've been going through LA and the different cities. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the rhetoric, the approach Trump is taking. And then I know Maine is, pretty north of the border, but let's say you're a senator and this kind of activity comes to your state. How would you make sure that it's not negatively affecting the people?
Yeah, well, we are north of the southern border, but we have a large international border with our state in Canada, and it's an issue that has come right here into the state. I mean, we've had multiple instances of ICE picking people up. So I think it's not to the severity that we're seeing in LA, but we are seeing it here, even here in Maine. I think it is important to remember and appreciate that the violations of someone's civil rights in California are a threat to all of our civil rights. And if we allow people to be picked up off the streets without due process, the way that we've seen this administration approach immigration enforcement, that can happen to any of us. And it is really just tragic to hear stories of people I know and have met that are carrying their U.S. citizens carrying their passports around because they're not white and they're worried about possibly being approached or abducted by ICE and what would happen if they didn't have their documentation. I mean, that's not the America that I grew up in, that I think respects the rule of law and due process. I'm the son of an immigrant. My dad immigrated here when he was 12 from Australia. And, it was a real moment of pride for him and for our family when he became a citizen. And that this is a country that is been successful because of our welcoming of immigrants, communities, and refugees and people that needed to leave their homeland. And I think we should uphold that value, and that's in elevated as our success, but also just understand that this is not something isolated to one city or one group of people, but it's something that affects all of us.
I completely agree there as well. Another issue that is always cycling through, especially since Roe v. Wade got overturned, is reproductive rights. It's especially scary now with Trump being in office, Republicans having the trifecta and majorities. What are your thoughts on reproductive rights? Where do you stand on the issue for people who may not know? And then what should people hold on to kind of in this dire of circumstances where they're worried about possibly losing the right?
I am fully pro-choice, and as senator will work as hard as I can to advocate and push through a federal right to abortion access. I think that this is something that we cannot. I mean, we've already seen the Supreme Court overturn this right we believed was enshrined for all Americans, and our response should look like what we did on marriage equality. When it seemed under threat, Congress passed when Joe Biden signed into law, codifying the right to marriage for all Americans. We need to do that with the right to abortion access and reproductive health. And I believe that we need to, if need be, which I think it will, is to get rid of the filibuster to pass that right to abortion access, and that democracy does allow us to restore this right for all Americans. And we're experiencing something now where in Maine we have a pro-choice governor, a pro-choice state legislature. The right to abortion access is not something that is threatened, but it is threatened right now because of the budget bill that just passed Congress that was signed into law, because it's going to close rural hospitals, places where if you live in rural Maine, you would go to access an abortion. So people are going to have to travel longer distances to receive that reproductive health care, and that's going to limit access. And what is going on right now with the rollback of, in Maine, it's Maine Care, but the Medicaid program, and the way it's going to affect communities, particularly in rural America, is going to limit access to reproductive health. And this is something that we need to both highlight and identify, and we need to fix by passing a right to abortion access federally.
And also important to note the one big beautiful bill, as it's called, also defunds Planned Parenthood. So I'm sure that'll also have downstream effects. Also, I do want to ask you two more questions, one on the state level, one on the national level, to start kind of in Maine, just from you personally campaigning since you've announced going around. I'm sure you've talked to a lot of I'm not sure what is it, Manians? What would Mainers? There we go. Okay. What is the main issue you hear from them? And then how would you plan to directly address that?
The one I hear the most about is a general anxiety and fear about the future and the direction that our country is taking, with a president in the White House who does not believe in democracy in the most fundamental way. He does not believe he needs to accept the outcome of elections. He does not believe that he needs to condemn political violence from his supporters, that we have a right to vote as citizens. And I think it makes in Maine has the oldest population in the country. And I think for older Americans, they're very afraid that the future is very uncertain for the rule of law and democracy. And so that comes up in many different ways. And then the second is with young people who just feel that they not only will not be able to secure the economic livelihood that their parents did and their grandparents did, but it'll be worse. And I think that manifests in the cost of living around childcare and the accessibility of it, housing and healthcare, that these costs are getting unmanageable and unsustainable in a way that makes them also uncertain about the future. And so this campaign, when we announced it, I believe we've got to restore trust in the system and in our elected officials. And so we're having town halls in every county across the state. And Susan Collins, my opponent, has not had a town hall in 25 years. And so I think voters and Mainers they very much appreciate this opportunity to express their fears and feel heard, and that they can trust who they're electing to go serve in the U.S. Congress, that they're going to be an advocate to address these concerns.
And yeah, so in my last question, there might be overlap in kind of half of it, because I was wondering what you think the biggest threat just Americans in general face. And so if there is overlap, that's fine. Where it might differ is, what do you think the Democratic Party as a whole should do differently to where, I mean, they very clearly got it wrong in 2024. Trump won, they gave him the trifecta. What could they do differently to make sure this mistakes aren't being repeated?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Democratic Party at its best is one that is focused on reform and fixing what's broken and providing the public and voters with a positive vision of the future, a hopeful vision of the future. And I think that when you look at something like healthcare, my position is not, but I don't believe the Democratic Party's position should just be stopping the repeal of Obamacare and stopping these cuts to Medicaid, because that's ultimately defending a status quo in our healthcare system. And we know that the healthcare system is still broken. Obamacare was a step in the right direction, but it was not a complete reform that we need. And so we should be, yes, defending these things, but also making clear to voters what our plan is to fix our healthcare system. And I believe very, very fundamentally that voters need to see our party as the one that recognizes broken systems and has a plan to fix them so they work for people again. And I think that that's what fundamentally made Barack Obama such an inspiring leader, is he gave us a hopeful vision of the future. And that's why he attracted such support from myself and other young people, but the working poor. And these are people who most are in need of a hopeful future. And I think that we will win again when we grab back hold of that.
Yeah, I think that is very wonderfully put. Before I let you go, I want to give you the floor for a second. If there's any last message you want to get across, you can be sure to shout out your website. If there's any events or something like that, the floor is yours.
Yeah, electjordan.com is our website. You can find our upcoming events and town halls if you're in Maine. We're running a grassroots campaign. We don't take money from lobbyists or corporate PACs. It's funded by regular people. So if you're able to contribute $5, $10, I mean, it all matters. We that's how we're gonna beat Susan Collins, who has not just uh, relied on these special interests to fund her campaign. But going back to Citizens United, we just got word last week that a super PAC supporting her has already raised $5 million. So we're up against a lot, but I believe we can overcome it with the grassroots and regular people who want to see the change in Washington we need.
Yeah, and again, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us. It's Jordan Wood, a Democratic candidate for Senate in Maine. I will have your website in the description if anyone does want to check that out. And best of luck running against Republicans. We definitely need more people like you in office.
Thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate being here and for everyone listening.
Awesome. Yep. And hope you enjoy the rest of your day, my friend.